Everybody, I'm Dr. Namrata Goswami. I'm a research fellow at the Institute for Defense Studies and Analysis. So the Institute for Defense Studies and Analysis is one of the premier think tanks of India. Started in 1965. It's a government think tank working on security and national security issues and strategy, looking at various subjects including area studies, which includes countries like China, Bangladesh, Bhutan, the United States, the strategic partners of India. And so the most important thing is that the IDSA has been listed in the Go to Global Think Tanks report by the University of Pennsylvania as one of the top think tanks in Asia. So my work at the IDSA is to do with India's internal security, Northeast and India-China border. So the monograph that I'll be talking about is on India's internal security situation, present realities and future pathways. It deals with the armed conflicts in Northeast India, Naxalism, and it also offers certain future scenarios about where India is going and how India is dealing with the conflicts. So this monograph was basically propelled by my own fieldwork in the Northeast and in the Naxal areas. And I also come from the Northeast. I come from a state called Assam. Growing up in Assam, when I saw the conflicts around me and I saw many of my own friends joining armed groups, it raised a very important question in my mind, and that is, why is it that there are armed conflicts at all in the Northeast? Why is it that young men and women join armed groups and demand political rights, and why is it that it's not done non-violently? So this is the main basic question. Even when I was a teenager, it propelled me, and I grew up in a very small hill town called Haflong, where you have 2 to 3 armed groups, and so that was the main fundamental question in my mind. So it was not just a research question, it was also a question about my own identity, and my own identity as a person coming from that particular region in terms of understanding what these conflicts are about. Now the book, the monograph is divided into 5 chapters. So the first chapter gives you an idea about India's conception of itself, the idea of India, what the Constitution talks about India, and how the Constitution enables a kind of adaptable approach in dealing with different conflicts, ethnic conflicts or class struggles. So the first chapter also talks about the tension between center-state relations and gives you a theoretical understanding and a conceptual understanding of conflict resolution processes. The second chapter is on the northeast of India, where it's an exhaustive study of armed groups in Assam, Manipur and Nagaland. I think the strength of this chapter is because it's based on my interviews with not just Indian policymakers, but also with the armed groups. So I had interviews, long-standing interviews with the National Socialist Council of Nagaland, the United National Liberation Front of Manipur, ALPA, which comes from my state. And I think the strength that I brought to the book is that, first of all, I come from the region. Secondly, I know the local languages, so it was easier for me to conduct interviews. And thirdly, I got access. I got access to society, I got access to the armed groups to study them and understand them. And the other dimension of this book, which I think you'll find interesting, is that I also traveled to Burma. So I went to the border areas of Burma and interviewed some of the groups in Burma, like the Kachins and the Karens. And that understanding actually improved my own sense of why there are conflicts. So the conflicts are not just about security or identity, it's also about livelihood. So many of the young boys and girls who joined the movement joined it also because it generated some kind of resources for them. And that was a very important insight for me as a researcher, to understand the motivation. Because some of the people I interviewed were very similar to me. They were well educated, they had similar background, similar family background, and yet they followed a different path. So that was an important dimension. The other dimension was also the criminal dimension of the conflicts. So these areas have a lot of armed network and drugs network, and that also made me understand that there are different dimensions and factors to a particular conflict. It's not just about identity or ethnicity. Now the third chapter is on the Naxal conflicts. This is also based on my fieldwork in Orissa and some other states, and I looked at it from the conception of class struggle and how the different classes actually joined the Naxal conflicts and how the conflict has been able to sustain itself for so long. It was a fascinating study for me because I'll tell you a small example. So when I traveled to Orissa, to some of the remotest areas like Malkangiri and Nayagar, so as a woman, when I was traveling, I was advised not to wear, and that's a very interesting insight for me. So I was advised not to wear jeans or t-shirt. So I asked why? Why can't I go to the villages wearing the clothes I'm comfortable in? Because it's in the forested areas. They said, no, because you might be mistaken as being a part. So how clothes also determine who you are. So it was a fascinating insight in terms of understanding the conflict from a very, very local level. And that's, I think, the way you should buy the book, because it gives you a very interesting insight from a field perspective and not just from a conceptual or theoretical perspective. The third chapter is on terrorism. So why is there terrorism in India? So I look at causes, I look at different external linkages. I also look into the stories of the men and women who joined so-called terrorist groups. I try to understand their background. So you would find it interesting too. And I think the final chapter is on where all these three different conflicts are going to go. So I determine certain factors like root causes, external linkages, ideology, economic background. I look at the conception of geography. So how geography also matters in many of these conflicts. And then I determined three different scenarios which are there in the book. One of the scenarios which I determined was that the Indian Constitution is good in terms of a document. It allows for a very plural kind of existence. But when it comes to implementation, there are problems because it also accentuates group identities. So you'll find that in one of the scenarios, this whole narrative played out. The second thing is I also look at the externality of the conflicts. So most of the armed conflicts are also externally connected. So some of the conflicts in the northeast are connected to Burma or Myanmar. And so I look at that dimension. And I say that as long as we are unable to secure our borders, I'm not saying sealing, because in today's age and time you cannot seal a country, but you can secure the borders. So when I talk about that, I say that as long as you have continuous flow of arms, as long as you have continuous flow of drugs, and this is very well documented. It's not said by just looking at some newspaper reports. It's based on, again, field work, going and living there, looking at the societies, the impact of the conflict on them. And then I say that this would actually perpetuate the cycle, because there are also vested interest in continuing some of the conflicts. And the final chapter that I look at is the conception that many of the groups will become even more internally driven in today's age and time. So I'm sure you are aware of the discourse on local versus global. So when identities become more and more global, you also become very local because you want to show who you are, you want to be connected to your sense of self. And that could also be a process in some of the conflict areas. And finally, there is a conclusion where I argue, I go a bit to Gandhi, and I argue that for Gandhi, the most important thing about the conception of the state was look at it critically. Gandhi was not afraid to be critical of the state. He said that men and women in India who actually are able to criticize the state are the biggest patriots of the state. Because, why did he say that? He said that because he felt that if you really want to make your state stronger, if you really want to make a country stronger, you should be also able to discuss issues that are difficult and issues that are meaningful. And so his argument that if you really want India to shine, if you really want India to reach a particular goal, you have to be able to be honest about the faults, and because only when you're honest about the faults can you improve them in a manner that is successful. So that's the book. It was published last year. And before I speak about my other book, let me turn the mic to Colonel P.P. Gautam from IDSA again.